Wilson County John Doe, 1987. Identified as Dennis Ray Etheridge. Dennis Etheridge was about 21 or 22 when he was last seen in Wilson County, North Carolina, 1977. Quite often around this time, the police refused to take missing reports on adults, saying they had a right to disappear if they wanted to. So it's odd the police did actually take a report on this missing young man. It was filed in 1979, 2 years after his family last saw him. There would be nothing but silence on this case for 14 years until 1993, when some men were searching for a missing lantern, and instead they discovered him inside the Buckhorn Reservoir. The skull made it clear the person met with foul play, as there were 2 prominent bullet holes, but a mistake in this case would keep Dennis and the Wilson County Police from finding his name, and possibly finding his killer. The examination would conclude that the skull belonged to a female, aged 17 to 22, who was either white or Hispanic. So the police were looking for a missing female, until DNA testing in 2008 revealed that the skull was a male. Back then they only searched through CODIS, and no match was found to his DNA. For some reason, however, despite the location remaining the same, Dennis still wasn't identified. Looking closer, they also concluded the death was only about 3 years prior, which unfortunately probably helped impede the investigation too, as Dennis was likely located there for 16 years. It's still pretty amazing how close they are on most of the cases. Sadly, it doesn't always work out, and Dennis was one of those. Thanks to teamwork between the police department, the North Carolina Medical Examiner, NAMUS, and the Fort Worth Center for Human Identification, Dennis Etheridge once again had his name. His family finally knew what happened to him. His case still needs individuals in the area to come forward and say what they knew at the time, as they desperately need some sort of a clue to investigate as to who took his life. Dennis Etheridge went unidentified for 28 years. The Butler County John Doe, 1997. Identified as Larry Joe Porter. Larry was 40 when he went missing from Dayton, Ohio, in the fall of 1996. And he was known to visit the area where he was found. There's limited information about his life, but we know that he struggled with alcohol, and those that saw him last said he was wandering around town, and there was some implication that he may have been homeless. For whatever reason, he disappeared and there were no more sightings. In May of 1997, Larry was accidentally found hidden in weeds in the water near Great Miami River near Regart Road in Fairfield Township by Indian Springs north of Hamilton, Ohio. They suspected he was the victim of a hit-and-run accident that landed him in the water. They knew he was around 35 to 60, 5'10", 120 to 140 or so, with a husky build and an unusual protruding chin. The examination showed a surgical scar on the inside of his right eye, and it had involved surgical wire. All of his teeth had been extracted at some point, about a year prior, but there were no false teeth. He also had cirrhosis of the liver and a history of alcoholism. They believe he'd only been where he was since April or May of that year, so it's unknown where he was since he had last been seen. He wasn't all that far away from where he went missing. He had cut-off shorts, a brown belt, a gold buckle, and a silver necklace. It wasn't anything to help identify him until DNA did the job in August of 2020. One of the men spoken to said cases like this always remain open, but the focus is on identifying him. The reality is actually solving what happened is nil. We would obviously work any lead that came in, but we exhausted most of those leads back when it was investigated before. It might not even be a crime he might have fallen. If anyone has any information about Larry Porter, they're asked to call 513-785-1239. Larry Porter went unidentified for 23 years. He was found just 44 miles away from where he went missing. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. If you enjoy this channel and haven't yet, please take a moment and hit the subscribe button. Take care of yourselves and each other.